Hey everyone, that's Gnoga. Today I wanted to bring you a replay analysis, 3 games for you, and I wanted to showcase the new Angelechy card in Elfnote. What we did in our testing group is we made myself go second and have the opening to e4 in my starting hand, because we wanted to see how much that card does going second. You know, if you play Elfnote, that going second is an issue, and your supplementary engine should help with that in the best case. So what we did is we just sent myself go first, and I had the trap. If I didn't have the trap, I just shuffled the last card back to get it, so that way I still have a randomized hand, just like the last card is the opening to e4. So for that, the first match is against Kewl Tune. They're going first in the standby phase. I activate the trap. Of course, I correct that in a second by dropping the Fuva before that, because if you resolve the trap, then you have stuff on the field you can't Fuvalos. And this is already a very strong combination to have the Fuvalos and the Angelechy setup. I'm going to go over it once the Fuva hits the grave, and there it is. So this card is activatable if your opponent goes first in the standby phase. You just preemptively have to activate it, and you place one field spell from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then you special summon one pawn or one knight to your extra monster zone. And if you do that, you place one Angelechy monster from your extra deck in your spell and trap zone. So here I summoned the pawn because this was my first game with it. This should be the knight. I'm going to correct it later because I think knight is better as your opening. And then we bring out the bastion, which is the rook. And the rook is gonna bring out the king. This is kind of like a castle reference, I think. And the opening to e4 is the reference that your first move is either the pawn or the knight. So the bastion, if it's placed here, is gonna bring out gonna bring out the king into the zone, because this is the castling. And then the king, when it's set here, it adds one trap from your deck or graveyard to our hand, which is going to be the disturbance. This is the disruption in the deck, where it's a trap card. You can give one Angelechy monster you control to your opponent, and then if they're a monster in its adjacent monster zone or spell trap zones, you negate their effects. So a lot of negations here. And in the graveyard, you can banish it to add one Angelechy spell trap. So gives you follow up as well. And the field spell, if face-up Angelechy monster card is destroyed by battle card effect, you can return one Angelechy monster card you own from your spell trap to the extra deck, then you can special summon it. So if my bastion would get outed, I can put the king back and summon it, for example. And then once per turn, I can discard one spell trap and special summon one pawn from my extra deck. And if you do, I place one Angelechy monster from my extra deck to my spell trap zone. So there's a lot to take in. The knight, when it's put in the spell trap zone, it adds your spell. And then all of them have like the effect to banish monsters that their counterpart chess pieces would be able to capture. So the pawn can capture these two, like these diagonal lines. The king can capture anything. The rook can capture anything in its column, and then the knight can capture anything that is not in the same column. So that's that. And the king also has the effect your opponent can only attempt to activate 5 monster effects per turn. So that is what you want to do with the opening. You're going to put your opponent under this king, and the rook protects all your other Angelechy cards from destruction. So they have to out the rook first and then the king, which Kewl Tune can do this easily. You'll see it. But that is the setup. Now I talked a lot about the cards. Let's see the gameplay. My opponent starts with Rico. Here I was considering just going to Harmonia the Rico, because Rico is an attempted monster effect. So maybe they cannot do it in 5 if I get rid of the Rico, but I decided to keep the Harmonia. They're going to add Rotary. I'm going to put the counter just so I can count, and they're going to Synchro Summon. I get my draw of Fuva. You see a second disturbance. I accidentally swapped the ratios of e4 and disturbance in the first game. I corrected later, so just to make sure that that's e4. They go Trackmaker, and they go Chainlink 1, 2, 3. They pop the Bastion, and they're gonna go do their Kewl Tune stuff. So they're gonna look at my hand, they're gonna add a Kewl Tune Synchro of the Maker, and they're gonna add a Kewl Tune Synchro of the Rotary. My Bastion is destroyed. I could trigger the problem here, to shuffle back my king and summon it, because an Angelechy monster card you control is disturb a battle card effect. But I figured I'm just going to force them to out this here, and they're going to do that by going into Zalen here, and the Trackmaker now will bounce the king. I'm going to get another draw here, though. So that's where Fuva is really nice, because they can't just go for the standard Fuva line here, because then the king will be still on the board for my turn, and that will floodgate them there. So they're going to go Zalen, and I talked to the watcher here because they just joined, and I just say hi because I was waiting for the combo to finish. There's an overtuning here, and overtuning can summon from hand, deck, or graveyard. So that's not giving any Fuva draw. Summons the Trackmaker, and then Magnamut is gonna come out because they just want to get a Harmonia here. So they know I have Harmonia. So what I do here is I'm gonna Ash the Magnamut, so that they can't really Zalen here, because if they want to Zalen the Ash to get the Harmonia, I can use my own Harmonia, pop the Zalen, bounce the Trackmaker, and that's really rough. So they just have to let this get negated. I don't want the Harmonia in their hand, so I just wanted to Ash that. I'm more afraid of Harmonia than one Kewl Tune Synchro here. So they're going to set the two Kewl Tune Synchros, and I'm going to start my turn. And I told them to move the Magnamut here because the Magnamut is in the pawn column, but actually here I correct the pawn to the knight. So this can target any monster in another column and banish that. And if it's placed as a continuous spell, you add a spell, and then while it's a continuous spell, each time opponent activates a card or effect and inflicts 500 damage. So if you are not against a monster heavy deck, you can, instead of opening with the king in the spell trap zone, you can just straight up put the knight in here. And against spell heavy decks, you just burn them for a lot, having this on the field until they out it. So for example, against Sky Striker, the back row removal would be the 0, and they kind of want to use 0 to add. And until they get to there, they get a bunch of burn damage. So that's pretty annoying for them. Also, you see they outed the king, but what's left is the knight still on the field, puts up pressure, and the field spell also can summon a pawn whenever I want, plus put the king back into my back row. So the card doesn't stop your opponent from playing, but it puts up a lot of pressure. So you're going to see how I push into this board just with what I have here. So I'm going to start with the problem. I'm going to discard the disturbance, and that's going to be met with a Kewl Tune Synchro chained to the Zalen to get rid of this. Otherwise, I could summon the pawn here, and the pawn would just threaten the Zalen. And if I get the pawn and the pawn captures something, I can give it to my opponent and it would promote. So it would shuffle itself back into the extra deck, and I summon another piece, and I still have the king, and the king can just banish anything. So if I get the pawn to banish any monster of my opponent, I get the king out, and that also banishes something. So they can't really let that happen. So what they're going to do here is they're going to use Zalen. I'm going to chain Harmonia. Harmonia is going to pop the Trackmaker, because this is non-targeting, so I wanted to non-target, get rid of the Trackmaker, because otherwise if I targeted it with Malong, they could Kewl Tune Synchro to synchro it away. So the Malong here is going to then get rid of the Zalen. My field spell is gone because of Zalen. And here they're going to chain their Kewl Tune cards, grab Rico, summon the Clip, and make RS. And Zalen is going to should go into the extra deck, actually. The Clip is going to banish my Chengying, which is fine. And here, the Destrier can target any monster on the column and banish it. So I'm going to target the RS, and this just forces the RS out. So the RS should be in this column probably, but that's that. So now that I've forced a lot of things just with Harmonia and just with Harmonia and E4, what I do here is the Destrier is a level 7 non-tuner. The Harmonia is a level 7 tuner. So we can actually go into a copy of Zolkin. And because we add a trap in the first turn, generally anyway, with the king, we have something to set here. Now, we also have the Terminus here, so we were able to discard the trap for the field spell, but the Zolkin actually has a lot of synergy with this deck. You can also make a turn 1, because you can, in your turn 1 combo, you go grab the field spell, you have 2 level 8s, because that's how you bridge into the chess engine. You play the Null Gainer and the new Witness, I think, the level 8 monster, and then you can make Zolkin. So I'm going to set the disturbance here, and that's going to trigger the Zolkin, bring out the Crystal Wing, and then I activate Terminus, and that's what you want to do with Elfnote hybrids, is you just want to push through the interactions and then resolve one Elfnote card. You just need to resolve one Elfnote card, and that should be enough for the board that you want to make. That's the first replay. So for our second replay, we have the another match, same game. It's against Kewl Tune. We have opening and we have Fuvalos here. We also have the Harmonia, so pretty good. And let's see what just to have some consistent results from what this does. So we drop the Fuvalos, we drop the opening. This time we do it right. We summon the Knight, we summon we place the Rook. The Rook is going to place the King, and the King is going to grab us the Disturbance. So now we have this set up, and our opponent is going to normal summon Rico again. So Rico is going to grab the Rotary, and we're just going to out the Floodgate the same way we did before, which is fine. We just want to force them to make a second synchro here. Generally, I think my experience with this engine was, if you pair it with another hand trap, it's really strong. Alone against Kewl Tune, they just out it easily, right? And then after that they can still out the Knight or the field spell. If you have one of these pieces stick though, then the engine did more than enough. So we're gonna grab 2 cards, and then we're gonna synchro into Loudness War, which is gonna give me another draw, and it's gonna shuffle back the King. And Kewl Tune is gonna grab a mix. And here I'm gonna go Harmonia, because the Loudness War is actually annoying to me, because if I don't use the Harmonia at any point, the Loudness War can check my Regina, plus it will be there for that turn. So I just want to go Harmonia here. They're going to chain the Loudness War to look at my hand again and grab another card with the Rotary. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to add the Kewl Tune Synchro. The Kewl Tune Mix is going to grab a Q. And here I'm going to bounce the Mix with my Malone. So they're going to go Q. And no, they actually can't go Q because they don't have an extra normal. They go Kewl Tune Synchro to grab Rotary, and that will allow them to go Q. Q is going to summon the Loudness War from Grave, which has already used its effect. So they're going to set 2, and in the end phase, because I forced the Loudness War, I am now free to go Regina. Here, I actually get rid of the Tinia instead of the Fortuna, because going second, I already have a Synchro on board. Thanks to E4, I can just summon the Fortuna, and Fortuna threatens the trap, which would be a negate in the spot. So that, in my opinion, would be better than the Tinia in hand. So I'm going to summon the Regina. Regina is going to summon Lucina, and Lucina is going to make quick work of this Loudness War. So this was just like, I start my turn with 4 bodies. So this is the absolute best case scenario, where you just have like all these bodies. And here you can also, in draw phase, they go Synchro to make the remix. And then the Kewl Tune Mix and Q are going to trigger. Q is going to banish my 1 of Welcome Home, which is annoying, and pop the Lucina. So I can't get an ad of Lucina. So here I'm going to go and use the problem, discard the Disturbance that I just searched, and bring out the pawn, but they decide to, I think, remix here. Well, actually not. So I bring out the pawn, and I bring out the king, which is going to add me the trap. Now the king is back for the Floodgate effect, and they're going to go remix, grab Q, summon Rico, and synchro into Loudness War, I think, or they're going to go, yeah, Loudness War, and that's going to trigger the Rico to get rid of the king, and Loudness War in the same column as the Destrayer, so I cannot take it. Plus the pawn also doesn't have anything to capture, so I can't do this. So Loudness War is annoying, but we can just go into Zolkin, and this is where Harmonia plus E4 is so incredible, because if your opponent doesn't out that, you just have a Zolkin free to go. So I'm going to summon the Zolkin, and because we have the pawn now, the Zolkin actually cannot be targeted by attacks or card effects, so this can't be like negated here with a Veiler or something. They go Kewl Tune Synchro, Chain Clip, so that they can set up an RS, I believe. Yep. And that's going to be that. And the clip is going to banish the top of my deck, which is a second Destrier, and which I don't care about. So here I'm going to set my opening to E4, which doesn't do anything anymore for me, but it's just a settable for the Zolkin. So the Zolkin triggers, and they're going to go use the Loudness War. No, they don't use the Loudness War. So I have the Crystal Wing now, and the RS, however, is messing with my levels. So here you see me try do a level 8 play, but I can't because this is a level 3. So I'm just going to fast forward until I repair that game. So we're back with the actual game state, and here I have to figure out what to do with the level 3 tuner. So what I do here is I'm going to go Medias, activate the effect, and he lets that through, and I get the Elfnote Paw Patron. So I'm going to go Elfnote Paw Patron, target the Enlisted to increase its level by 3. Here, they're going to go Loudness War to, because if they don't bounce the Patron, I can also just immediately synchro with the Regina in this case, and they make a Strelitzia, but I'm going to go, they go Track Maker to bounce, and I figure, okay, if I don't use the Crystal Wing right here, it's going to get out anyway, so might as well use the Crystal Wing to negate and force the RS out, or just trade, right? They're going to RS the Crystal Wing. I said it's fine. And they bounce the Elfnote Paw Patron, which is fine for me because I just wanted this to be useful. So this is a level 6 now, due to RS. And I can go 6 plus 4 into a Chengying. This was also Light and Dark. So if I had Chaos Angel in my list in this spot, I could also make a Chaos Angel. That's worth noting. I didn't have it in this list, but like in this game, but I put it back now. So that is the second replay against Kewl Tune. Let's show you a third one. So for the last replay, we are up against Branded, because we wanted to check that matchup as well. And I'm going to put back the Fuvalos here, because we already seen in the last games that Fuva plus E4 is a good combination. So there was no point to actually do that again. So I'm just going to put that Fuva back and get the opening to E4 with the rest of my hand. So standby phase, I'm going to go open to E4 and bring out my Knight, Field Spell, and Rook, which is going to go and try to place the King. Here they're going to go with a branded opening, ditch another branded opening to summon the Alubar. And it's going to be Chain Link 1 Alubar. Like, this was in reaction to my trap. And it's going to be Chain Link 1 Alubar, Chain Link 2 Bastion, Chain Link 3 Fawn the Virtuous, which is a strong counter against this engine because popping the Bastion means that we don't get the King. And that also means that they just get it for free because the Fawn the Virtuous will replenish itself in the end. So we are left with the Rook, the Knight, and the Field Spell. And the Harmonia. So Harmonia, I'm actually not seeing a good line for it here, unless they want to go for Cartesia. So I think I might as well just try to keep it for Fallen of Albas. They're going to go with Branded Fusion, White, and Cartesia. And they're going to go Albion to fuse into a Granguinol. Granguinol sent Titanic Lad, Nadir Servant sent the Rindbrom, get Fallen of the White. Fallen of White sent the Dragon that Devours. Ecclesia, Dogmatica Ecclesia can grab Fallen of the Virtuous, so that our Albion is now free to actually set Retribution. And they're going to set 2, and in the end phase, or main phase 3 as I like to call it, they just grab Spring and Skid. Off the Dogma, they summon from the deck a Quam to set that up, put a Cartesian Grave because the other one was banished, and the Albion is going to get a Retribution. So I'm going to drop a turn, and it is Terminus, which is good. It's an engine piece, and let's see how far we can get. So my logic here is I want to force out with the chess cards. So I want to probably try and go Knight first, and I want to use the Problem to either out this Albion or one of these monsters, and then I can get a king out. But for this, I have to discard a spell trap, and my only spell trap is Terminus, which is also a good push. So I have to see how I maneuver around it. So I'm going to start here with Destrier, target the Quem, because the Quem would be able to revive Cartesia, which would be their way to make a Mirror Jade with these two or these two. So I didn't want that, so I wanted to force the Quem. They have a crown, so this is now crowned, not able to be used. Next, I'm going to normal summon Meteors and see how I can go with Meteors. And the idea was Meteors is going to grab me Vidolium, and Vidolium can then put itself in the extra deck, and then it's going to add a Power Patron card, which means I would get a spell that way. And that's the idea, to get a second spell for the problem. They're going to actually Retribution my normal summon here. So the Meteors is gone. I'm not getting the Tuner or a Power Patron hand. And next I'm going to go with Terminus, send the Elfnote Power Patron, and grab myself a Vidolium. So here I'm going to go Vidolium, use the effect. That is going to resolve, bring back the Elfnote Power Patron. And this is going to add me Junoldo. Junoldo, not grabbing a spell, but Junoldo, once it goes to the grave, can actually grab me my Terminus back. So also lets me shuffle my hand here a bit. So there's a Fallen the Virtuous on the Elfnote Power Patron, because once I get an Elfnote on the field, I can either Black Rose if they don't do anything, or if they Fallen the Virtuous, then I can chain the Elfnote Power Patron and make June Pride, and then tag out June Pride and then make Black Rose anyway. So they have to actually go and destroy this Elfnote Power Patron here. That sends a monster to the grave, so the Quem is going to trigger and bring back the Cartesia as I feared. So I'm going to go activate Junoldo, which is fine. They don't have back removal. Special Lucina, and that triggers the Junoldo. So Junoldo is going to draw 2 cards. Not great cards. So I'm just going to drop the opening to E4, and the Junoldo is going to grab me back my Terminus. So that is that. And now I have a Terminus to discard. I don't want to discard the Rhapsodia here, so I could have probably also discarded the Rhapsodia and grabbed it back, and then I would have the Terminus in grave and the opening to E4 to discard, which is probably a bit more efficient. So now I have to get the Terminus in grave again. They're going to go Cartesia, and here I react to that with Harmonia, because I don't want them to make Mirror Jade. So I'm going to go Harmonia, send them along, pop the Albas. However, I do not actually bounce with Malong, because they still have the Rindbrom in grave. Rindbrom can revive the Fawn of White. Fawn of White can get Ecclesia. Ecclesia can get to Albas, OG Albas, and I don't have a counterplay to that. But if they only have one monster zone, they cannot do that. So I'm just going to leave it like that. They're going to then fuse into another Grangunol, which this is not possible here. It should be this Cartesia. That's fine. They're going to trigger some effects. This Grangunol brings out Proskenion and brings back the Fawn of the White. And my Lucina hasn't been used, so Lucina can actually grab a Regina here. And what's really cool, I just noticed in this moment, this is crowned, but crown says can be used as material for a Synchro Xyz or Link summon. So what we can do, however, is we can send these two and make Zolkin. So this cannot be Synchro Summon. This is not a Synchro Summon, so this was not material for a Synchro Summon. We just sent it. It's kind of like Chorozo, the ruling. So we can still, even though it's crowned, we can go into Zolkin. And now I can go and set my Rhapsody of Madness, and that triggers the Zolkin, brings out the Crystal Wing, and that is already a threat. Plus, it checks the Albion in the end phase, which is important to me. Next, I have to shuffle back the tuner with Meteors first. So Meteors, shuffle back the tuner, because I need to make a synchro, and then Regina brings out the tuner, and then I can use the problem to summon the pawn. However, I cannot give the pawn to my opponent, because all the zones are full. So I have to do something about that. First, I'm going to go into the battle phase. My board is full, so I sent the Destrier to the grave and then put it in the spell trap zone, because this has to summon the pawn and then put something in the spell trap zone, which burns them now, which is nice to have. Now, I go into the battle phase, and my Elfnote Paw Patron is the only monster that can attack because I resolve Terminus. So I'm going to use it to banish the Quem face down. So that's gone now. Next, in the main phase 2, they now have a free slot, so I can capture the Granguinol with the pawn, and that'll promote the pawn to a king. And then the king can banish the Cartesia. So I'm just picking apart the grind game resources here. Next, I'm going to go Alpha Paw Patron, increase the level of Regina. And I'm going to make a Cheng-Ying. So I said, let's do it the other way around. So first the king, first we make the Cheng-Ying, then the king banishes the Cartesia, because that way I can get the Cheng-Ying off. Also, I trigger Regina and Elfnote Paw Patron. So banish that, and the Cheng-Ying can now activate to banish something non-targeting. So they're just going to react with the Proskenyon before they lose the Proskenyon. Just get rid of my Bastion. It wasn't properly summoned, so they can't summon it here. And Cheng-Ying is going to banish both Albases, so that the Rindbrum cannot revive it, and there's no Albas on the field. And that is pretty good for me. Now, I wish I could get rid of this Medius, but I can't send it off of Rhapsodia because it can't get sent to the graveyard. It gets banished when it leaves the field. So if I use Rhapsodia, I have to send the Zolkin, and then I can't do the dancing gimmick, basically. But this is how we outed the board, and now in main phase 3, I think I'm looking at my options here, but I don't have any. And yeah, they're going to go Albion. I'm going to negate that so they can't get follow-up. And on their turn, they're going to go banish Branded Retribution to grab the Branded Fusion back. And here I could trigger the Cheng-Ying, which I think I do, because I don't want them to Proskenyon run over my cards. So Chaining 1, Cheng-Ying, they chain the Proskenyon just to get rid of my grave again. Doesn't matter. So this is banished, and they're going to go Branded Fusion. I actually wasn't sure what the last card is. Here we can see it's an Alubar, but if this was Talons or something, I wouldn't have a negate for that. So I actually let this Branded Fusion through because whatever they summon can get checked by Crystal Wing, because they cannot chain block as they have the kit in the grave already. So I'm just going to let them Branded Fusion here. And if they have like another power card, I can Rhapsodia that. So they're going to go with these two, summon Lubellion effect, and I just negate that, and that is protected for Branded Opening, but there's no place left here. So that is that. So quick look at the deck list. Very standard Elfnote engine. Our hand traps are like Ash, Magnamut, Droll, which could be in the side deck, and then just like the standard Elfnote ratios: 1 Medius, 2 Vidolium, 3 Fuva, 1 Welcome Home, and 2 Ogre, because Ogre next format is going to be a lot better because of the Ritual of Light and Darkness. And then we have 3 Opening to E4, which is your power card. And then we have the Field Spell, which is okay to draw because it gives you a pawn. Like, you have to discard a spell trap, but it gives you a pawn, it gives you a card in the back row. And the pawn puts up pressure, and the card in the back row also can put up pressure. And then we have the Witness of the Ancient, which is the bridge, because if you have a Synchro Monster on the field or graveyard, you can special summon from your hand. If you've got a special summon, you can place up to 3 Synchro Monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard in your spell trap zone as face-up continuous spell. And then you special summon 1 Arc token with a level equal to the number placed. So what you want to do here with this card is you just want to place I think the Rook and the Knight, or if you want to save space in the back row, you can just go Knight and King. You want to get a level 2 token, and then there's 8+2. You can do things with that, and you can access this card off of Nullgainer, which is a level 8 synchro that searches to a level 8 or higher monster with 0 attack. So basically, you just make an 8 with your Elfnote engine, you go into this, and this is going to get you to the chess engine, plus you get a level 8 non-tuner, a level 8 tuner, a level 2 non-tuner because of the token, and you can get a level 2 tuner with the field spell, bringing out the pawn. So 1 level 8 synchro gets you 2 level 10 synchros plus the back row setup. You can also search the trap, which right now I've sided because Going second, it doesn't do that much. It's just like a discard fodder. But yeah, the engine is really good going second, I think, and it's not as expensive in the main deck. So basically, you have one playset of cards that are good going second, which you probably have to side out here if you go first. But the rest, you have like, these are good to draw going second. These are not terrible. Like, these are not bricks. This is maybe a bit susceptible to form the virtuous, but other than that, if it resolves, it's really strong. And this, once you get a synchro on field or graveyard, so if you have this and Harmonia, this is actually a strong push because it just summons itself, summons a token, so, and then it puts stuff in your spell trap zone, so you get a level 10 synchro plus the chest setup, so it's, you are pressuring on two fronts, basically. So that's not a bad card. In the side deck, we have the new Paul of Sloth for going second. I wanted to try that. And then we have Kaijus. Actually, Earth Kaijus are important because if you play Radiant, then they can super poly that with Fallen of the White plus any of your effect monsters for a Dogma. So it's just better to have the Earth Kaiju here. And yeah, the extra deck is pretty minimal because this takes up 6 extra deck slots, 7 with the Ultima Azulkin. And then we have some 10s. I have right now Changing and the Chaos Angel. It's worth noting that this engine easily makes back-to-back because you just have a level 2 tuner synchro and a level 8 non-tuner synchro. So you could just make that. The issue I have with that is that you don't really have that many monsters you can summon in your opponent's turn that makes sense anymore because this engine takes up a lot of space. So right now I'm a Chaos Angel. But yeah, that's the deck list. That's my thoughts on the engine. I have to play a bit more with this, but like first impression going second, it's really good. I'm definitely going to try this next format. But yeah, let me know what you think of the chess engine. If you want to see the standard combo for this, I don't think I have like an expansive video on it, but I might just do a combo drop video where I just put up like a combo for this, for another Elfnote version, just have like 3 Elfnote combos. I could do that. But that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.